Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the match preview. Burnley versus Everton. Turf Moor. Hopefully it is not a happy place for Burnley fans. Hopefully it's a happy place for Everton fans come Saturday. But before we get into it, let's get over to Baz.
Big thanks to eToro for sponsoring Toffee TV. eToro sponsor a number of Premier League clubs, including our own Everton. In case you didn't know, eToro is a global investment platform that has more than 16 million registered users worldwide, trading stocks, currencies and commodities to cryptos like Bitcoin. eToro offer a CopyTrader feature, which means that you can copy the top performing traders at no additional cost. And what that means is when they make a trade, you can automatically make the same trade. This is good because it means that you don't have to spend any extra time studying which trades to make. And that means that it'll save you time, which is really good. If you want to get into investing, then use eToro as your go-to investment platform. To find out more about eToro, click on the link in the description below.
Nice one, Baz, for that important message. Burnley, somewhere where we've struggled, let's be honest. As I said, Turf Moor has not always been a happy place for us. Of course, we went there season before last, got a nice 5-1 win on Boxing Day, but it's not been the easiest place for us to go and get a result.
Well, they've won 4 of the last 6 games there against us, so that tells you it isn't a good place for us to go. The 2 times we've won there, 3-1 and 5-1, so we've done all right. Yeah. But it's been a difficult place. It's a, you know, they have a way of playing under Sean Dyche, and the crowd normally make it more difficult. Obviously this time it's a little bit different with nobody in there at the minute. Obviously we're hopefully approaching fans being allowed to be back in, but at the minute Everton have got to use everything to their advantage, and we've been okay. I mean, let's be honest, we've been decent away from home. Won 3 away games this season so far, which is unheard of.
All in London as well.
All in London, but it's unheard of for Everton, isn't it? This early on. So it's been a decent start for us away from home, but it will be a tricky game. I know they've only won 1 game, but it'll still be a tough game for us Saturday.
Yeah, and as you said there, they've only won 1 game, but you never count Burnley out. No. You never count Sean Dyche out, and you know, it has been a tough start for them. I don't think the break in the summer was good for someone like Burnley. Burnley normally, they don't have a lot of money. I know they're in the midst of a takeover at the moment. It looks like they might be getting bought by I think it's an American investor. So they're in the midst of that at the moment. But they don't have a lot of money. And I think with the summer, the way it went, because it wasn't like a long drawn out affair, and they can pick up almost like all the little bits, get those players. I don't think those players were ever really available, and they actually lost someone like Jeff Hendrick as well, who's the kind of player they'd normally pick up, but they lost him to Newcastle. I don't think they brought anyone in, did they? You know,
not of note.
You know,
not really.
So that's been really tough for them. Then you're trying to get players going again into the new season. You don't have that little bit of bounce because you have ball players and you haven't got the crowd behind you, and I think it's been tough for them. And you know, we've seen in the last game out they got beat by Manchester City 5-0, which always seems to be the score when they play Manchester City. But all that being said, I am not taking this game lightly at all, because they have got the little things that Everton hate, essentially, which is getting the ball into the box, getting it, you know, in and around Jordan Pickford, and I think they'll make our defenders, and if it is Jordan Pickford in goal, very, very nervous just by playing that style, and they'll know to play that style as well.
Well, they tend to play 4-4-2, don't they? They have Barnes and Chris Wood, got Jay Rodriguez, who's a good player, but you know, and we've faced that direct football from them and well organised, and they are difficult. We've got players like Dwight McNeil, who's a good talented footballer, but they do make it difficult, and we've been generally okay at Goodison against. I know they beat us a couple of years ago, 1-0, but in general we've done all right at Goodison against them, but it has been difficult away, and they'd be doing the things that they're good at, which is being strong at the back, well organised, and they will be trying to put Pickford under pressure because you would be. You know, set plays is what the key at. You know, they scored the winner against us in this fixture last year from a corner. You know, so the year before we beat them, they scored from a corner. So we know that they're dangerous when you've got those two strikers up front who are big and strong. You're always going to play to their strengths, which will be balls into the box or balls up to the edge of the box and pick the bits up. And we've seen it was Chris Wood scored the winner for the only game he won. You know, with a nice little bit of football, a nice little flick. But in general, that's what they do well. They pack the box and get throws and corners and free kicks into you and put you under pressure. And Everton have got to be able to cope with that. Well,
they work as well, don't they, on the weaknesses of the opposition. We've seen that last season, the game you're mentioning there, the game we got beaten. The fact that they'd obviously looked at something where we were fragile on set pieces, and they had a chance the same fashion. They knocked it to the back post, and then knocked it back in, and the second time it worked. We didn't learn from it. We didn't learn from it. Where we were, you know, quite lucky. So I think they'll be looking at our weaknesses in defence, and there are numerous weaknesses in defence. So certainly, you know, we're not watertight, are we, by any means? And that'll be interesting to see whether Carlo Ancelotti decides he has to change things, starting with the goalkeeper, because these are the games where I think games where Pickford does look like a small keeper. He does look fragile in some of these games. He doesn't come and take the pressure off us how we'd like to. You know, when you're seeing balls coming across the box, and whether it be set pieces or crossed into the box, you know that he's going to have a tough day. And I just wonder whether the manager will be looking at the situation thinking, no, for this game, if we've got a goalie and who's 6'5", who can come out, take crosses, come out, be physical, jump over the top of the players. Because I think one of the problems with Pickford is, I think we've seen that already this season, is that because of his size, when he tries to catch things that are higher and he's stretching for the ball, he sometimes makes mistakes. You know, whether it be dropping it against Brighton, or we've seen one against Man United, which I know is a foul, but you know, just that instance of not dealing with the ball first time. And I think once, for someone like Burnley, they love to exploit that, the pinball in the box sort of style of football, and I think that's where certainly for the goalkeeper, maybe bringing Yerry Mina back as well. I think that's where the manager may be willing to tinker with things and think, right, let's get as organised at the back as we can. Let's get the basics right, and hope the rest of it takes care of itself.
Yeah, he could throw Olsen in because of his size, and that would relieve a little bit of the pressure. I'd like to see him make a choice of Holgate or Godfrey at right back for this one and put the other one in midfield. That's what I would be doing for this. Bring Yerry Mina back in, because we're not going to get run by them.
Yeah.
You know, we can defend a little bit deeper in this. Michael Keane likes to defend the edge of his box. We can almost play a low block against them and try and draw them onto us, try and do what they're doing, and then try to hit them on the counter-attack. And I think you can do that if you're solid. I think if you... Everton haven't been solid for weeks, and I think that's the first thing we need to do. So I'd see a world where he puts Olsen in because of his height, says to Pickford, you played really well last week, but we're going with this for this game. Mina and Keane centre-back. Maybe it's Holgate at right-back. I'd play Nielsen Kunku at left-back because he's left-footed.
Yeah.
That's an advantage. And then in midfield, I've Godfrey as your 6, Alan Decore, and then the 3 lads up front. And I think that would put Burnley under a bit of pressure, you know. And Everton having the 6 Premier League games we've played against Burnley, we've never kept a clean sheet at Turf Moor. You know, and we have come and been, you know, undone by set plays and stuff. So it would be to our advantage to have a big goalkeeper in, and certainly someone like Yerry Mina, who did score actually the last time he won at Turf Moor. So he could go that way, Carlo, and I'd be behind that. Yeah. I'd be really behind that.
Win your battles.
If that team just go, listen, let's get organised. If it ends 0-0, it ends 0-0, but let's make sure we don't concede.
Yeah.
Keep it tight, and then you start getting a basis for games going forward.
Because it's got to start, hasn't it? It's got to start somewhere. We've got to start taking pride in trying to get clean sheets. And the manager will say last week, we nearly got it, but we were still
we were hanging on,
all over the place. Whether it was going to be a 25-yarder or whatever it was, we still give up a lot of chances. It's got to start. We've got to get that organisation. We've said ourselves loads of times. Build from the back. Get the organisation in first. You're looking at something like Spurs at the moment, who are top of the league because Mourinho's built from the back to the front. This season, went out and bought players. Put Ekdai in the centre back and Højbjerg in front of the back four purposely because he knows he's got the attacking players, and I think it's the same with us. I think we know we've got attacking players who can put the ball in the back of the net. We've got the Premier League top goal scorer playing for us. But we've got to get that back line. I know that's not easy, by the way, when you have lost your best right back and when you've lost your best left back. That's difficult. But I think if you learn to defend as a team and learn to defend and become organised, that makes it a little bit easier rather than just doing it, hoping that your best players are going to do it for you. Where Holgate's come back into the team, he hasn't looked right. Mina's been in and out of form, and the only real constant's been Michael Keane, hasn't he?
And now he's in great form.
And he's starting to dip, isn't he? So, for me, I think we've got to get that organisation. We've got to get that spine right as well. At some point as well, the spine's looked very shaky lately.
I think if he could, I don't know whether he would consider putting a centre back in midfield. I would, because.
Well, what about if it wasn't a centre back? What if it was Tom Davies, or if it was a? Well, do you think physically they're not up to it?
I think because Burnley tend to play a 4-4-2. I know they used Rodriguez and Barnes off Chris Wood at City last week, and obviously they were done 5-0. But in general, they line up in a 4-4-2. So it means your two centre midfielders, Alan and Decore, be able to take care of Burnley's. The two centre midfielders, what I mean by that is it's a match-up. Whether you get the better of them is a different thing, but you're up with two in the middle. But if Everton did go to like a 4-3-3 and he didn't want to use Godfrey or Holgate in midfield, then Tom Davies could come into that battle. Or he could use Alex Iwobi in there as a genuine 8, breaking, and then I think we're not doing Alan or Decore any favours, because we either say to Alan, just sit and don't go anywhere, which I don't know whether he can do that because he wants to get involved. But half the time I'm saying to Decore, you can't commit because you're our legs running the other way. Whereas he wants to be breaking into the penalty area. We saw him score at Fulham. We saw him early on last week against Leeds. Only didn't get another chance to do it, but he could have scored then as well. And I think if you put Godfrey or Holgate in that defensive midfield position, you're able to free up Decore then to go and join in. So you'd still have 3 and Decore. You'd have 4 attackers without saying to Nkunku, bomb up and down the line. And then you Holgate or Godfrey, whichever one you prefer, and doesn't always have to go and overlap then, because he can offer you the insurance with the 3. Or if Holgate does, your 6 can drop back in and make it 3. So you've got the cover there. So it's interesting to do that. But like you say, if he didn't want to do that, Tom Davies could come in, and maybe you'd say to Davies, play like you did against Brighton. Play it, just be the number 6. Sit there against Brighton, like you did against Brighton, win it and just give it to someone else. Don't take chances. Give it to the other 2 lads in front of you and let them go and do the business, because we tried Gylfi, we tried Delphi, can't rely on. We tried Gomez, he's up and down. Bernard, I don't think you're ever going to try in there. He's a wide player and he's not going to replace either of our 2 wide players unless there's an injury. So your options are limited. But all that being said, Burnley is second to bottom. They've got a -13 goal difference. They're not big goal scorers, but you do have to defend properly against them. And Everton, if Everton are, and we keep saying this, if Everton want to get in Europe, and it's the club are saying, the players are saying it, this is a game that
you're trying to move the team on. You're trying to, we can sit here every week and we can say what we want, but ultimately, if these are the games where you say, these are the games you're going to have to win. These are the games these are the places you're going to have to go.
Unless they're battling for Europe. They are, aren't they? Yeah. So Leicester go to Turf Moor, you'd be looking going that they should win.
Wolves as well.
Wolves, and that's not being disrespectful to Burnley at the moment. They're just because they're not playing very well.
But that's all that is saying.
All
that is saying, if you expect to finish the season with 60 points, you know, 55 to 65 points, these are the games you've got to win. These are the differences. These are the 3 or 4 games. Because it's a weird season. I don't think we can necessarily. Normally, we'd sit here and we go, we're going to win 9 to 10 home games this season, easy.
Yeah,
more so, should be winning more.
Yeah.
You know,
with the crowd,
that mightn't be the case this season. So So the flip side of that is we need to win more away games anyway. So we can't be scared of going to these places. And you're absolutely right what you just said. If I was sitting here this week and I was looking at the table and I seen Leicester were going to there, or I seen Wolves would go there, I'd be like, they'll win that game. They'll win that game.
Southampton, they were up there.
Yeah, Southampton.
1-0.
Exactly. So you'd say they're going to win.
Because you're catching Burnley at a good time at the moment.
That's the way we've got to look at it. It's got to be us going there and going, we're better than you and we're gonna assert ourselves. But it doesn't matter until it's not worth it till we get that defence right. We've got to start picking up clean sheets. We've got to start taking pride in that and looking organised and not just throwing a leg at things. Because you know what? If they throw crosses into the box and we're flapping at them and we're not just getting them away, then they thrive on the knockdowns. That's what is the difference. You know, I watched a little bit of the game last week, and I know last week Man City, they had injury problems. I think Nick Pope was out on a concussion protocol, so I think he'll be back this week. But it was just City were breaking it down in midfield and then breaking them, and City had a field day. Now listen, we're not City, of course we're not, but we've got to stop them getting into those areas in the first place. And I watched them take a couple of set pieces and the pressure they were putting on the City defence and Ederson in goal, but City dealt with it because actually they've got a big keeper, they've got a big centre back at the moment who's playing well, and we've got to be the same. We've got to be able to just do the basics because you know that's what they're going to do against you. There's nothing surprising about Burnley. There never has been anything surprising about Burnley. It's whether you can cope with it. It's whether you can deal with it. It's whether you can stand up to that kind of play. And in the last few years, we haven't been able to. No. And that's something we've got to turn around in this game because winning this 3 points in this puts us on 19 points and has us in a nice little place, nice comfortable position going into busy month of tough fixtures, yes. But this is one for me that I'll be looking at the players, seeing what have you got about yous. You have conceded goals. We've lost 4 out the last 5. What have you got about yous this week? And we'll see.
I mean, you're looking at the stuff. What's mad? None of the 12 Premier League games between the two teams ended in a draw. Yeah, mad. And Burnley won 5, Everton won 7. No side has scored fewer league goals than Burnley this season. He scored 4 goals this season. The Clarets have also attempted the fewest shots. They've had 83 shots in their 9 games and only had 24 on target. Having kept clean sheet in their opening weekend, the Spurs, Everton now have gone 9 games without a clean sheet. Only Sheffield United have got a worse record than that for clean sheets. Burnley looking to win consecutive Premier League home games for the first time since October 2019, which ironically came against Everton, which is great, isn't it? In the first 5 Premier League games of the season, Everton had an expected goals total of 9.9 and had scored 14 goals from 64 shots at a 22% conversion rate. Over their last 5 games, they have an XG of 5.5 and have converted just 9%. Which tells you, doesn't it, that we have dropped off massively. Yeah. Sean Dyche's 200th Premier League match in charge, making him the 35th different manager to reach that milestone. Only 4 of the previous 15 English managers to reach the milestone. With Alan Pardew, Roy Hodgson, Steve Bruce and Glenn Hoddle. Everton striker Dominic Calvert-Lewin has scored the opening goal in more different Premier League games than any other player this season. He scored it in 4 different ones. So.
And I think, if we get the opening goal in this game, that will go a long way.
It's a massive... We've just seen there, listen, just because they've only scored 4 doesn't really mean anything, but they're showing that at the moment they're just not playing well enough. They're not finding goals easy to come by. And I think we've seen Everton in this position in the past where you can't score. It's like now, a clean sheet to us at the moment is like the holy grail because we haven't had one. So, and then for Burnley, when you're not scoring goals and you concede the first goal, you just... last week, that Leeds goal went in, we just went, that's it. Yeah. You know, but when you're not scoring, your head goes down immediately because it's like, how are we going to get back into this game now? You know, we don't score a lot of goals and we're already behind.
Yeah.
You know, and we've had that with managers where the team just doesn't look like it's got a goal in it. You go behind and you're like, no way back now, no way back. And your confidence is on the floor, and the second to bottom for a reason. Now, I think Burnley, because Dyche has done it every year, will somehow be able to turn it around. Normally after Christmas, he gets them on a run. So now they're not in a good run. Let's capitalise on that by getting these 3 points, because there'll be worse times to play Burnley this season without a shadow of a doubt. So it's a big game for Everton, and we've got to try to get the 3 points. Got to. Yeah,
there you go. We've got to get 3 points from this game. It's that easy, and then things will be looking.
The game isn't that easy. The process in your mind is that easy.
Things will be looking a hell of a lot rosier if we can get the 3 points. Let's put it that way. But as we said, it is a very, very tough game. There you go. Make sure to give this video a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. Join us on Patreon. Daily live videos for you over there. And yeah, don't forget the eToro offer as well.
Check it out. Click the link in the description.
There you
go. Check it out.
We'll see you later.